know that feeling, right? One moment you're on a perfectly clear drive, everything's fine.
Coldly confident.
And then, bam, the whole world outside your windshield just turns slick and gray. That sudden shift is so jarring.
It is. And it's that transition that often catches us off guard. We're always thinking about the big disasters, the blizzards, the hurricanes.
Right.
But really, weather, even just a bit of rain, it completely rewrites the physics of driving.
Exactly. And that's our mission for this deep dive. We're taking the sources you've shared to give you a shortcut to, well, to confidently navigating all of it. Rain, snow, fog, you name it.
And we really need to get this because the scale of the problem is just, it's huge. The statistics are really sobering.
I saw that in the notes.
Yeah, based on NHTSA data, we're talking nearly 5,000 people killed and over 400,000 injured every single year.
That's a tragic number. To put it another way, about 21% of all crashes in the U.S., that's like 1.2 million a year, are tied directly to weather. This isn't some rare thing.
It's a massive, consistent problem, which brings us to this huge gap between what we perceive as dangerous and what actually is dangerous.
Okay, so if I asked most people, what's the biggest weather hazard? They'd probably say a blizzard or black ice.
That's what they'd say. But the data shows that's not what gets most people.
So let's get right to it. If it isn't the big dramatic storms, what's the #1 culprit?
It's overwhelmingly just wet pavement.
Just wet pavement.
That's it. It's involved in a massive 70% of all weather-related crashes. And rain itself, that accounts for 46% of all of them.
70%. That's actually mind-blowing. So our biggest danger isn't the freak storm, it's the everyday downpour that we just, underestimate?
We completely underestimate it. We don't adjust our driving enough. For a little context, snow and sleet, they're only about 17%. Icy pavement is 13%.
And fog is even less.
Fog is tiny, only 3%. It just shows that the most dangerous part of a drive is off of the first few minutes of a normal rain shower, before we've really slowed down.
That makes so much sense. And is this just a U.S. thing, or do we see this pattern everywhere?
It's universal. It's a physics problem. I mean, look at the UK. About 9% of their accidents are from bad weather. In Canada, it's closer to 30% on icy or snowy roads.
So even in a place like Australia?
Even in Australia, wet weather contributes to about 10% of their accidents. It really shows that this is a skill everyone needs, everywhere.
Okay, so let's move from the numbers to the physics of it. Where does it all start to go wrong on the road?
It comes down to two simple things: reduced visibility and reduced traction. And visibility is more than just rain or fog.
You mean glare?
Exactly, glare. Low sun at sunrise or sunset can be completely blinding.
And if you can't see a hazard, your reaction time is basically zero. It's gone.
It is. And then there's what's happening under the tires, the road surface. Water immediately cuts down on friction.
Which leads to hydroplaning.
Right. Where your tires are literally just skimming on a layer of water, like water skis. You lose all contact with the road. No steering, no braking.
That is a terrifying feeling when the wheel just goes light in your hands. So deep snow is obvious, but what makes black ice so much more insidious?
It's the invisibility. It's this thin, clear sheet of ice that just blends right in with the dark asphalt. It looks exactly like a wet road.
So you get no warning?
No visual cue at all.
Yeah.
And it forms fastest on bridges and overpasses because they don't have the ground underneath to insulate them. You don't know you're on it until you're already sliding.
Right. So once the road surface starts to fail, that has to ripple out into traffic flow, right?
Immediately.
Yeah.
Everyone slows down, which causes congestion.
Yeah.
And then heavy rain can cause standing water, which stalls cars and creates huge blockages.
And the sources also mention something less obvious, how the temperature itself messes with the car.
Yeah, that's a huge one people miss. Tire pressure. It's incredibly sensitive to temperature.
Colder air means lower pressure.
Right? It contracts. So you get underinflated tires, which ruins your grip. And the opposite happens in extreme heat. Checking your tire pressure is one of the most important things you can do.
Okay, let's switch to those really acute dangers. Lightning. I was always told the rubber tires on a car are what keep you safe. Is that true?
That is probably the most persistent myth out there. The car is safe, but it has almost nothing to do with the tires.
So what is it then?
It's something called the Faraday cage effect. The metal body of the car is what protects you.
The Faraday cage. So how does that work?
Well, when lightning hits, the electricity flows over the conductive metal exterior. It goes around you in the passenger compartment and then down to the ground.
It stays on the outside shell.
Exactly. You're safe because you're inside that metal shield.
Which means a convertible with a fabric top.
Offers zero protection. Absolutely none. You need that full metal shell.
And knowing that, the safety precautions make a lot more sense. You need to avoid touching the metal.
Right. So if you're stuck in a lightning storm, the absolute must-dos are: stay inside, first of all. Don't touch the door handles, the gear shift, the radio.
Anything metal.
Anything metal. And don't use electronics plugged into the car. Just pull over, safely away from trees and power lines, windows up, and wait.
Okay, that's clear. Now, what about hail? I know it dents the car, but what's the actual driving danger? It feels like more than just a visibility problem.
It's a huge traction problem. Hail on the road is like driving on a layer of marbles or ice. You can lose control instantly.
And when it mixes with rain, I imagine that creates a slushy mess.
A perfect recipe for hydroplaning. Plus, the visibility can drop to basically zero, and big stones can crack your windshield, which is incredibly disorienting.
And I think there's a panic factor, too, the noise alone.
The noise and the visual chaos can make people do unsafe things, like slamming on the brakes. You have to fight that instinct.
So what's the game plan for a bad hailstorm?
Smooth inputs. Everything has to be gentle. Slow way down, and I mean drastically increase your following distance. Put on your low beam headlights.
And if it gets really bad?
You find shelter, a bridge, an overpass, covered parking. If you have to pull over, get way off the road, turn on your hazards, and just wait it out.
Okay, so we've covered the big dramatic storms. Let's shift to the subtler threats. What about just those small temperature changes morning to evening?
They create really sneaky hazards. We have to talk about the freeze-thaw cycle.
Which is what destroys the roads.
Exactly. Water gets into little cracks in the pavement, it freezes overnight, expands, and breaks the pavement apart.
Then it thaws the next day, and the cycle repeats.
And that's where potholes come from. They're a sudden physical hazard that can wreck a tire or even make you lose control.
And that rapid temperature drop is also the perfect setup for black ice, especially on those bridges we mentioned.
It is. And it's not just the road. We talked about tire pressure, but think about your engine oil.
The thickness of the oil.
Yeah, it's viscosity. When it gets really cold, oil gets thick like honey.
So the engine has to work much harder to start.
Much harder. It puts a huge strain on your battery and causes more wear on the engine components until it warms up.
That's a great detail. And then there are those seasonal things we forget about, right?
Absolutely. The spring thaw, you've got melting snow mixed with all the sand and salt from winter, which kills traction. And in the fall, wet leaves can be just as slippery as ice.
And let's not forget the windows fogging up instantly when the temperature drops. That sudden loss of visibility inside the car is so distracting.
It is. So if we bring all this together, the stats on wet roads, the physics of hydroplaning, the Faraday cage, all these subtle threats, it really comes down to one thing.
Preparation.
Turning fear into confident, prepared action.
It's about a proactive strategy, isn't it? Before you even get in the car, check the forecast for your specific route. Make sure your tires, your fluids, your wipers are all good to go.
And then, when you are driving, it's just about being conservative. Slow down, way below the speed limit sometimes. Double or triple your following distance. Just assume the road is slick.
It really feels like knowing the stuff, knowing the why behind it, can change your habits. We know now the biggest threat isn't the blizzard, it's the simple rain shower we dismiss.
We've covered the what and the why. The black ice, the hydroplaning, the fact that wet roads cause 70% of these crashes. But the real challenge is always going to be in the application.
That's the gap, isn't it, between knowing it in your head and doing it in the moment. We all know we should slow down when it rains, but we often don't adjust enough.
So the question we want to leave you with is this. Now that you know about these hidden dangers, the real risks of wet roads and temperature shifts, what's one immediate, non-negotiable thing you will do before your next drive to make sure your actions truly align with what you now know?
Please like, subscribe, and get notified.